What if your lack of traction on YouTube isn't because your content isn't good, but because how you're presenting it? So let's talk about one of my favorite bands, Stone Temple Pilots. A band that had all the right tools, talent, production, and a breakout debut. And yet, they spent years being called Pearl Jam knockoffs. It wasn't until they tore their sound apart and rebuilt it on their own terms that they found a voice people remembered. And then there's Instagram, a startup that almost was a complete flop until the team applied a tiny behavioral shift that changed how people interacted with the app forever. So you're probably asking yourself, what does rock music have to do with YouTube? And why am I comparing Instagram to STP? Well, I'm Dr. Z, and I am a medical doctor who just loves doing stuff on YouTube. And these two stories, one from rock and one from Silicon Valley, might sound worlds apart. But if you're a coach, a course creator, or an entrepreneur trying to get your business off the ground, or anyone trying to grow an audience on YouTube, they hold the blueprint to finding your true voice and turning clarity into real, reliable growth. And today, in today's episode, we will unpack both. So let's rewind. It's 1992. Stone Temple Pilots drops their debut album, Core. It explodes. Tracks like Plush, Sex Type Thing, and Creep dominate alternative radio. MTV plays them on loop. Millions of albums are sold. And do you guys remember MTV? But there was a problem. Critics hated them, not because the music was bad, but because it sounded too familiar, too much like Pearl Jam, too much like Alice in Chains, too much like grunge again. One headline called them the McDonald's version of Seattle. Ouch! What a terrible review. Scott Weiland, the frontman, had a powerful voice. But early on, that was part of the issue. He could morph into anything. He sounded like everyone, and because of that, STP didn't sound like anyone in particular. They had success, but not identity. Does this sound familiar? Scott Weiland, the chameleon, deep, growling baritone on one track, and soft, melodic on the next. A gift, yes, but also a curse when it came to defining who Stone Temple Pilots really were. But the band felt the pressure. As they moved into their second album, Purple, they were already questioning themselves. Did they even like the music they were making? Did it represent them? Or were they still playing dress up in someone else's genre? By the time they hit Tiny Music, songs from the Vatican gift shop, something had shifted. They took a risk. Jangly guitars, psychedelic rhythms, trumpets. Scott stopped imitating and started experimenting. Critics didn't know what to make of it. Some loved it, some thought it was a mess. But one thing was certain, they no longer sounded like anyone else. And here's where it clicks for us as creators. Think about the last few view videos you published on YouTube. The thumbnail style, the hook, the pacing, the subject line. Are you mimicking someone else's successful template? Or are you trying to sound like all the big names in your niche? And this is not a judgment. I understand what it feels like to try to make your voice heard on YouTube. It's a natural starting point and a great one to begin with. But that strategy only takes you so far. Think of STP. How far did that strategy take them? Yes, they sold millions, but they sounded like everyone else. Because people don't remember you as an imitation, they remember your real voice. So let's dive into what we can learn from this. Lesson 1, you won't find your voice by following the loudest trend. That's what STP learned. And for creators, especially coaches and course builders, this is huge. You might have all the skills, you might have all the success, but without a recognizable voice, you stay replicatable. And in a crowded space that is YouTube, being replaceable is the kiss of death. So why does Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi stand out? They have their own unique voice. So here's your action step. Open up your YouTube channel. Look at the last 5 videos that you did. Ask yourself honestly, and really, this is a tough thing to do because you have to listen to your own self. Who am I sounding like? Is this me? Or is this the version of me trying to win approval? And trust me, I've been through this. Finding my voice for my channel took me a very long time. Then do a creative therapy session. Yes, you're becoming your own therapist. Record 3 private videos. No thumbnails, no SEO, just you speaking as if to a real client that's sitting right in front of you. What would you say if you had no algorithms to watching you? In those unfiltered moments, you start hearing something that doesn't sound like anyone else. That's your tone. That's your narrative style. That's the beginning of your tiny music moment. Because the truth is, your audience isn't waiting for another version of what already exists. They want something new, something fresh. And they want to hear your voice because it feels real. And that voice might just, that voice they're looking for might just be yours. So let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Instagram and the tiny habit breakthrough they used. Welcome back, everyone, to Talk Fluence. Now let's jump from the world of alternative rock to the world of apps. Instagram today is a global giant with over 2 billion users, a cultural force. They changed the internet. But let's go back to the very beginning. Do you remember the name of Instagram 1.0? Well, it was kind of a mess. And if you didn't know, they were called Bourbon, B-U-R-B-N. And it tried to be too much. Location check-ins, future meetups, complicated filters. It was bloated, slow, and confusing. Basically a glorified tech demo. And the feedback was horrible. It was not good at all. The app had potential, but nobody wanted to use it. That's when the team did something that was a game changer. They stripped the entire app down to one simple behavior. Take a photo and post it. Behind this move was a little known but powerful framework from behavioral science. Have you ever heard of BJ Fogg's tiny habits model? Fogg's approach was this. If you want people to take action consistently, you don't need to overwhelm them with features. You need to lower the friction and build tiny, repeatable actions. And that's exactly what Instagram does. So I have to ask you, are you doing the same for your YouTube channel? Are you breaking it down to the simplest thing your client or who can do that can create a tiny, repeatable action. But let's go a little deeper. Let's break it down. Instagram took the complex act of sharing your life online and reduced it into a loop. Open the app, take a photo, post it, get a little reward. And that little reward might not have been huge. It could have been a comment, a follow. It didn't matter. What matters was that the entire flow took seconds, not minutes. No pressure to write captions, no need to plan a whole story arc, no editing suite, just snap, post, done. And guess what? This was not accidental. It was a behavioral design change. It was absolutely intentional. And the result? People started coming back every day. Not to be influencers, not to build a brand, but because it felt effortless and a little fun. Now, here's where this ties into what Scott Weiland and STP did. What STP did artistically, taking small risks, introducing unexpected sounds, changing their vocal tone, was the creative equivalent of what Instagram did technically. In both cases, they didn't reinvent everything overnight. They made tiny changes that eventually added up to a completely new identity. When Scott swapped out his grunge growl for a higher, raspier delivery on Tiny Music, it was just a tweak. But that tweak changed how we heard the band. Same with Instagram. Removing everything but one clean behavior gave people a reason to show up and keep coming back. In this video, we're listing out 3 key behavior changes that can make a big difference on your YouTube channel. So I ask you, what small change, what tiny change can you make today on your channel that can make a difference in the long run? So let's dive into what lesson 2 is then. We already did lesson 1. Big transformations come from tiny, repeated cues. What I just mentioned, what tiny change can you make? So here, if you're a coach or course creator, and you're struggling to stay consistent on YouTube, or feel like your process is chaotic, this is your moment. You don't need to overhaul your brand. You don't need to rethink your workflow. Let's borrow from Instagram and create your own tiny habit loop on YouTube. For YouTube, here's what it could look like. 3 simple steps: script, thumbnail, call to action. That's it. 3 steps, done in sequence every time. Let's go back and let's go for them again. Script, thumbnail, call to action. Script, you can go on an AI tool like ChatGPT and ask it to write a script for your show. Thumbnail, again, you can go on ChatGPT and ask it to create a thumbnail for that. And a call to action, yet again, you can go on the AI and ask it to suggest a call to action for your script. Don't aim to record 3 videos a week. You don't need to. Start by committing to a script. So scripting 1 idea every day. Just 1. Maybe even just the title and the hook. And here's how you do this. And this is a practice I do all the time. I listen to lots of podcasts. I listen to all kinds of things like history and business podcasts and music podcasts. And while listening to those, I get ideas. And in my car, where I listen to most of my podcasts while sitting in traffic, I have a little book, a little notebook, where I quickly pull out and I just write down my ideas. Another simple way to do this is you can just open an app on your phone and just dictate what the idea is. And that's it. You're done. Then, once a week, use this micro momentum to batch record. Put 2 to 5 recordings together in that one day. And you're done for the rest of the month. And just like Instagram, use prompts to nudge behavior. You can do the same. So here's how you do it. Each morning, ask yourself, what's one idea I'm excited to share today? Or what's the one question a client has asked me that I can address this week? These are low friction prompts. They're easy to get you moving, and once you're in motion, the rest gets easier. For this, I use a simple practice: action, inspiration, motivation. Once you take action, the inspiration will come, and from there, you'll be motivated to finish. Here's the truth. Successful creators don't have more time or energy than any of the rest of us. They have the same 24 hours in their day. They just have better systems. Systems built on cues, not pressure, on habits, not willpower. So if your channel feels overwhelming, stop trying to sprint. Treat it like a marathon. Marathoners don't sprint the entire race. They pace themselves. Start by building a rhythm. Like a marathoner, they get into what is called their cadence or rhythm. That's the way their body moves and their feet are running. Because tiny beats huge every single time. So, what does a grunge band and a photo sharing app have in common with coaching and trying to grow your channel on YouTube? A surprising amount. Because if we zoom out, what both stories really give us is a blueprint, a step-by-step formula for how to find and express your authentic voice. Here's a three-part process we've pulled from both Scott Weiland's journey with Stone Temple Pilots and Instagram's behavioral shift. Step 1, disentangle yourself from the trend. STP didn't start by sounding original. You don't need to start by sounding original. But this allows you to test your voice in different formats and see what fits you best. They sounded like everyone else: Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, but it took courage, years. And remember, I noticed that I said years, not weeks, not months. And it took a lot of very public criticism to finally shed the trend and sound like themselves. As a creator, you have to ask, am I building my brand or copying someone else's? Step 2, design creative micro routines. This is the Instagram breakthrough. The success didn't come from some massive feature launch. It came from stripping everything back to a simple habit. Open the app, post a photo, and you're done. You need the same system. Instead of aiming for perfection, build a workflow of repeatable, lightweight, creative steps. Step 3, commit to the discomfort of the pivot. Yes, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel very uncomfortable trying to find your voice and hearing the critics coming out and saying that you don't sound real. Tiny Music, Songs from the Vatican gift shop didn't get universal or viral praise. Some fans were confused. Some critics didn't get it. But the band had to sit in that discomfort to grow into something amazing. When you shift your YouTube voice, your audience might feel unsure at first, and that's perfectly okay. That's growth. Together, these 3 steps form the core of what I call your YouTube voice formula. Detach from the mimicry. You might have started off mimicking, but try your own voice. Anchor in tiny creative habits. What tiny things can you do today that can lead to you producing a video every week? Stay committed through the messy middle. Many people quit just before success was about to hit them. Now, allow me to show you what this looks like in real life. When I started doing this talk show, I had no clue what I wanted to talk about. I know I wanted to talk about communication using YouTube, but I didn't know where my voice was. So I tried out different things. None of them was hitting. And then I was sitting in my car one day listening to another podcast on history of music. And I thought, I love music. I've always loved music. My favorite music is alternative rock, is the grunge era of the 90s. And I love history and I love knowing where things came from. But music has been one of the best marketing strategies ever. And it's ingrained in us to listen to music. In fact, we're born with music. Children dance before even learning to walk. So I was like, why don't I talk about music and how music can help you build your communication on YouTube and potentially improve your marketing? And then I started comparing it to what these marketers, all of these wonderful channels had to say about marketing. And I came up finally with what I have today, which is Talkfluence, which you're listening to, and how music can help you build your marketing and communicate better by using what marketers are already telling us to do. My watch time doubled, retention was stronger, and my comments got better. It felt real, but it just didn't feel real to my audience. It felt real to me. And that was important because I feel energized because I love talking about this. So how do you find your own version of that? We have talked extensively of things you can do. Simple behavioral framework changes that you can start using today. And this comes from BJ Fogg, the same behavioral scientist that influenced Instagram redesign. And it's called MAP, right? And it's a perfect model to building your YouTube creative system. Right? And MAP is this. Ask yourself. The M stands for motivation. So ask yourself, who am I helping? Who is my target audience? Not your whole audience, just your one person. This is also known as your avatar. Who is that one person that you've created that you want to talk to help them? Visualize them sitting in front of you. And what are they going through? What do they need to hear today? A, the A in MAP stands for ability. What is the simplest way you can share value? A short story, a helpful checklist, a lesson from a coaching session. Don't overcomplicate it. Go back and look at the questions your previous clients have asked and look at the comments and answer those. And focus on clarity over cleverness. And P, the P in MAP, stands for prompt. What is your nudge that you can give to that person? What can you build into your routine to remind you to create? Maybe it's a daily journal prompt. What did I learn today that someone else needs to hear? Maybe it's a sticky note on your screen or a 10-minute time block after a client's call. Whatever it is, make it visible and repeatable. So to close, well, we're coming close to the end. Your voice isn't found in a flash of genius. It's revealed. One honest story, one clear message, one simple video at a time. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start where you are. Speak how you speak. Build a habit and trust that your audience will find you once you start finally starting to sound like yourself. So to close out this episode, I want to address 3 common mistakes that I find can happen that you might be making today. And I'm not saying you are, but it might be happening. So, mistake 1. I just need to go viral. This one's everywhere. The belief that one breakout video will change everything. Here's the truth. Viral moments are unreliable. Even if you hit one, it won't build a sustainable audience unless there's something worth sticking around for. Focus on depth, not just reach. A loyal audience of 500 who trust you is more valuable than 50,000 who click once and never come back. Mistake 2, people will know what I mean. This is a curse of an expert. You assume your audience can follow your thinking because it's clear to build. But clarity isn't automatic, it's designed. If your message isn't landing, it's not because people aren't smart, it's because you haven't made it simple enough to stick. I did mathematics and I loved doing mathematics. And often, because I knew what I was doing, I would skip multiple steps. But when I was explaining it and teaching it to others, I realized I needed to go through each and every step, whether the person knew what I was doing or was their first time, in order to help them to follow the process. Mistake 3, my sound will evolve naturally. Maybe you're really good on camera. Maybe you have that natural vibe. Maybe you have that natural voice. But like STP and all of the other musicians out there, their sound developed over years with practice, training, voice lessons, and so much more. So waiting for your voice to evolve passively is like expecting your muscles to grow without lifting weights. You find your voice by using it, not by waiting until it's perfect. And to do this, you need to be on YouTube, getting on video, and talking. The creators who grow are the ones who experiment publicly. And if you look at creators like Mr. Beast and all these others, they will all tell you that their first 10 videos, 50 videos, 100 videos were horrible. And they wish it wasn't on the internet, but that's how they grew. Right? So refine intentionally and choose how you evolve. So how do you get people to not only watch, but remember and act on your content? Let's borrow a few behavioral nudges from the world of design and psychology that Instagram and others have mastered. Use subject lines or hook tweets. One of Base Wooter's favorite tactics was simple subject line optimization. A great example, this one idea changed how I coach. Why does it work? It opens a loop, it creates a curiosity, and it signals value without overwhelm. You can use this for your YouTube titles and hooks. Try the mindset shift that saved my coaching business. Or what I wish I knew before launching my first course. Insert micro prompts inside your videos. I've put in quite a few micro prompts in this video. Right before the half-hour mass, I try asking, quick check, was this helpful so far? You can do it with a YouTube tool, with a YouTube poll, a pinned comment, or just directly in your voice. It creates a moment of engagement and turns passive viewers into active participants. These nudges are like those. Was this helpful? Buttons on Google or TripAdvisor. Small prompts, big impacts. Add surprise and delight. The trash can effect, in other words. Remember, the playful trash can from the nudge episode that made a funny sound when you threw something in it? The tiny unexpected twist reduced litter by 81%. In other words, what I'm talking about, there was a trash can. In order to get people to use a trash can, they put a sound of the litter entering the trash can. So whenever you threw the litter in, it made a sound of the litter going down it. And this decreased littering by 81%, nudging the person to throw their trash away. You can do the same with your videos, adding a moment or pattern interruption, a short personal anecdote, a bold confession, a flash of humor, or behind the scenes moments. These little jolts reset attention and make your content more memorable. So let's bring it all together. Stone Temple Pilots taught us that identity isn't discovered, it's constructed, often painfully. Instagram taught us that behavior change isn't grand, it's granular. And if you're a coach trying to build real traction on YouTube, the lesson is this. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to be perfect. And you don't need to start sounding, you don't need to sound like everyone else, but most time start sounding more like you consistently and let those tiny, repeatable changes do the rest. So here's your challenge. Take 5 minutes today, record one 60-second YouTube short, not the polished version, the real version. Make it feel like you, your style, not someone else's. Talk to one person. Who's your avatar? Answer one real question or use one clear idea. Then if you feel bold, send it to me. You can DM me, email me, or email me. I'll be watching, or you can respond here. I'll be watching to cheer you on. And if you like this episode, please leave a comment. And we'll have more of these in the coming weeks to help you to use what we've learned from STP and other bonds like that, and what all the marketers and behavioral scientists have taught us to nudge or move your audience on YouTube to start coming to your channel. Thank you. I'm Dr. Z, and this is Talkfluence. And I'd love to have your comments.